Hi, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for School Garden Management in Summer Months with Meg Tenzar from Backyard Growers. My name is Dinah Mack. I am the Education Program Manager with Massachusetts Farm to School. Please forgive my voice. I have succumbed to some plague. And luckily, Meg is going to be presenting and doing the talking. And so we're really excited for you to join us today and for this program because we know that school garden management can be very complicated. And Meg is going to demystify it for you. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please throw them in the chat. I'm going to open the chat for everyone and ask anytime. All right, Meg, take it away.
Do you want to talk about farm to school?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let me just set it up so everyone can chat. All right, the chat is open for everyone. If you're not familiar with Mass Farm to School, we work with schools across the state to connect schools to local farms for procurement. We work with classrooms to explore food system education. We help establish connect people with school garden resources. We do a lot of policy work around local foods in schools. I'll put my email address in the chat if you want to get in touch, if you haven't been to any of our programs. And we're working on our schedule of webinars and in-person events for next year. So stay tuned for that. And if there's anything you really want to learn about, please send me an email and I'll make sure we get some professional learning on that. All right. And Meg, I'm going to pin you and
Okay. All set? Okay. So my name is Meg. I work at Backyard Growers. We are a nonprofit in Gloucester, Mass. We connect communities with resources and space and knowledge to be able to grow their own food. And we have helped other schools outside of our district to be able to grow food. We have community gardens and we have gardens at low-income housing, senior housing. We just started a farmer's market and we do workshops. We just are trying to get people to grow food. And I am the person that gets the kids growing food at the schools. So I'm the school garden program manager and educator for the city of Gloucester through Backyard Growers. We have 7 schools that we have gardens at, pre-K to 8th grade. And our high school is in the works right now. It got kind of taken out to construction to rebuild the seawall, but we're back. We're trying to get the club going there. So it's over 2,000 students, pre-K to 8th, and 65 garden beds. And then I do all the in-class programming. I just started a couple after-school garden clubs for the elementary school and middle schoolers, and we do the monthly taste tests in the cafeteria. So hopefully with all these different locations I'm at and garden beds, I can relate to anybody that if you have a question about a certain area, we have gardens in the woods, on pavement, fenced in, not fenced in. So hopefully with anything I can try to help you with. And going into this webinar, I am assuming everybody already has their school garden set up. If you're curious about garden maintenance, the summer maintenance, but if you don't, we offer guidance to schools that want to set up their own. So if you haven't got your garden set up yet, you can reach out to me and I'd be happy to help you with anything starting up your garden or programming. We've helped other school districts get going. So you can always just reach out to me and I can help you. That's a great picture that I love of one of our school gardens for salad days. Obviously, someone came with a drone shot and it's the different types of lettuces that we grow in the spring.
Meg, I
Yeah.
noticed maybe some square foot gardening in some of those beds. There's like a really detailed grid. Is that how you set those up?
Yeah, we used to always grid them out, which we teach square foot gardening in our community gardens, and it's not really necessary in the elementary school when everyone's planting lettuce because it's all the same thing, so it's not really square foot gardening. But it's easier to get the kids to plant in like squares. So there's many different uses for the grids, but we do love square foot gardening. And at my clubs that we've been doing after school, we've been taking advantage of growing a lot more different things in the square foot. So, um, so what exactly is summer care and maintenance? A lot of people think that it's just watering, but there's a lot more that goes into it. Because sometimes people ask me, oh, you must get the summer off because everything's just already growing. But it's really obviously when things are the busiest, it's watering, but it's also weeding, which can be harder than people assume too, and sometimes harvesting. All of our garden beds are wood, and so over time they are in disrepair and they need maintenance. So that's always something, especially with us, we have 65. So I'm always trying to screw some more pieces together to get them or just rebuild. We did a lot of rebuilds this year. And then monitoring what's happening at the garden. So it could be anything from insects, mice, deer, so like critters, but also neighborhood pets. At our community garden, we had like a cat that was just kind of using the gardens, which was not ideal. And then basketballs, kids running through it, maybe some overgrowth shading out the garden. We have like a lot of staghorn sumac that grows like crazy at one garden that will just shade out the whole garden. So it's always just kind of like keeping an eye on what's happening at the garden. And then we also do the remay fabric with the PVC hoops to try to protect the veggies that we're growing over the summer, because summer in the woods and we have all sorts of critters that want to try to nibble on the vegetables. So when you're planting your garden for the summer and then deciding how to maintain it, it's good to have a plan of what your goal is for the school garden and what you're growing and who that food is for and the timing of when it needs to be harvested, because that'll dictate how much maintenance you need. So for a school garden, the kids aren't there in the summertime, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to grow anything that needs to be harvested in the summer for us, depending on who you're trying to feed. So if you're trying to feed a community with it, then, and you have help, then that's a whole different maintenance of finding where the food's going and who's harvesting it. And yeah, so but for school gardens, what we do and what we recommend is to have the students plant. So first the kids plant lettuce seeds in early April. And then by the time it's ready to be harvested in June before they leave, they harvest the lettuce and then they eat it. But then they also plant their fall crops. So each grade has their own seeds that they plant. And then those are what I maintain all summer long. And then when the kids come back in September, they harvest it and they eat it. So we do carrots, potatoes, beets, dried beans, squash, pumpkins, because there's 6 grades in our elementary schools. So there's 6 different things growing. And so nothing needs to be harvested in the summertime. So that's the easiest way for school gardens to be maintained in the summer, is to have nothing that needs to be harvested. We're kind of changing it up a little bit this year because we know how much food we get, and a lot of it we donate to the local food pantry. So we're actually trying out this year of growing those things and then saving a couple beds to grow other food in. So we're changing our goals for our school garden a little bit, is the kids are having the experience of the seed to fork, but then we're also planting other food that we can eat during our fall taste tests, which we usually buy from local farms, but it would be great if we could feed them from their own school gardens. So that's the great thing about gardening is every year you can change it and experience it and see what works. Um, Finding your team is really important. You can't do it alone. It's a lot of work, and Gloucester is in a different position than most cities because my full-time job through Backyard Growers is school gardens, and I know a lot of school gardens are not as lucky, and they have a teacher or a parent that takes on the garden, and it is just a lot of work. So finding people to be devoted with you is really key. So I work closely with the food service director at the schools. She's really supportive of the school gardens. The cafeteria staff, of course, and the custodians. They're always really helpful. We use their fridges to store our food that we harvest, and the teachers, sometimes the teacher might catch me outside watering. She'll be like, I could take care of it for you. So it's just good to be on everybody's um, friendly with everybody. And then the DPW, I have made very good buddies with the DPW at school gardens. It could be, we use the city water. So any problems that we have, um, I can call the DPW, or if I need help, or they also maintain the space around our gardens because it's at the schools. So if a dead tree needs to be cut down or we need some wood chips, it's really nice to be close with the DPW and local community members. But most important for us is parents and PTOs. I know not every school has a parent-teacher organization, but if they do, they are an awesome resource uh, for supporting school gardens, especially because of just the evidence of how much gardens benefit schools and students at schools. PTOs are really usually willing to help. We have, for years, the PTOs, I meet with them and they're invested in helping us with 10% of the cost too. So it does, the money does add up quick to school gardens sometimes too, and it's a big expense. So don't be afraid to ask if the PTOs can maybe share in the expense. They've committed to it 10% each year, which usually is about between $300, $400, $500, depending on the size of the school. Because some of the schools have up to 12 garden beds at in our city. So they're just a great resource and might as well ask. And those are the parents that usually love to volunteer too.
Hey, Meg, a question around this, and you might be hitting this later in your presentation. What about if a school has a summer program, a summer school program? Do you ever coordinate with those classrooms or summer school programs to help?
That is a great question, and that is something I've been working on this spring. Our summer school program is it kind of partners with the local YMCA. So it's the district in the morning, and then there's there's like a program after with the YMCA. So we've just started to um, partner with them for my after school garden club because it's the YMCA after school. So that is something that I think my plan is with the garden clubs, or if you had a summer program, is you could have one garden bed or even grow bags, something like low stakes that you could just be outside and be exposing kids to if there's time for that and someone wants to during the summer school day take that on. Maybe just start small and just do, yeah, the growing container gardening is really a good idea for a new pilot project because kids are still out there, they're still gardening, but it's just lower stakes and a lot less money.
Yeah, I was just imagining a summer program that coordinated to help do those basic things of the pre-existing gardens, like the watering or the weeding, the harvest,
Oh, yeah, that
if,
would be great.
if people have summer programs.
Oh, yeah, that's even a great idea. Yeah, I was thinking of like gardening programming, but like the maintenance, yeah. That's a great idea to reach out to too. Um, some considerations for the summer too is who do you want to be there? Uh, so depending on um so when I say who do you want to be there, it's like, do you want people to come and be engaged in your garden? Because that is fun. And for us, our goal is engagement at our gardens because we're a nonprofit and we rely on people to donate money to us. So we want to be really visible. But if it's just like you're a parent that's trying to grow food for the students, it comes with risks. With having it be really open and engaging for people because ours, some schools it abuts playgrounds and it attracts people and it's fun because they get to see the gardens and be a part of it, but it also is they're constantly being like trampled. Um, all of our dried beans got harvested. Half the beets got ripped out at another place. So people will engage in a positive way, but maybe also in like a way that could be upsetting to your harvest. And so I now have kind of like just expect some loss from engagement. So that's just something to think about when you're setting up for the summer is do you want it to look like really inviting and people play there and come there who aren't just maintaining it? Or do you want it to be like discreet and everything grows nicely with nobody messing with it? Oh yeah, oops. Um, oh yeah, that picture is at one of our schools where the gardens are right at a playground, a very popular playground during the summertime. So that had we were growing pumpkins and the dried beans up there. So most of the dried beans got harvested and some of the pumpkins got picked and smashed because it's just fun to throw pumpkins. Um, Organizing the summer care, this can actually be obviously one of the harder things to do because you need a person in charge who's the contact point person. And so that's me for all the other schools, but um, it's probably a parent or a teacher at a different school. And then you just figure out how many weeks do you need help? It's usually about 10 weeks for the summer. And how do you want to make a sign up? Do you want to put up a piece of paper in the school where parents come in and they sign up, or do you send out a digital copy? How do you want to distribute it? Do you actually send this hard copy home with parents or teachers, or do you want to send it out digital and email, which is the easier thing to do? And then you have to send instructions. And then I said, what's your hook? You got to find something, lean into something that people want to be a part of. And so I tried to make being our weekly waterers really special, be like a family that helps as a weekly waterer. Before I had this job, I was a volunteer because my kids go to school in Gloucester. And my family loved being the weekly waterer. And so that's my hook. I try to make it seem really special and get people invested in taking care of the garden for the summer. Like, we can't do it without you. We need you. Come help. And for the most part, it works. So for backyard growers, what I do that I think is the easiest thing to do is I create a Sign Up Genius, which most of you are probably familiar with, the free website to create a sign up. And it just has 10 for each school, and it has the 10 weeks that you need watering. It's really easy to make. And then I send that link to the schools through the principals and the PTOs, and the PTOs put it on their Facebook and their email, and the principals put it in their newsletter, and I blast it to as much as I can. And for the most part, some schools get more than others, and that's probably the same. it'll be a similar situation for everyone else. Some schools, you have really eager parents that will sign up for 5 weeks. And then at other schools, it's hard to get anybody to commit to coming, which I totally understand. And each it's really important to leave detailed information about the location and how to care for that garden. Things you might need to provide in advance that you might not think about is obviously hoses and sprayers. And then sometimes you might want to have a backup also. And then you might not think about it that we need keys, like it's a special like plumbing key for a lot of schools. So to maybe have a backup of one of those, sometimes I just put it in like a little secret spot for people. Some schools, they need to be hidden. Some schools, they can just stay on there all the time. Maybe watering cans, different types of irrigation, tools like pruners and scissors. And depending on who takes care of the area, you might also need someone to take care of the lawn. So for us, if we are not fenced in, which none of our locations are fenced in, then the DPW takes care of it and mows and weed whacks it, luckily. But other places, you might need someone to help you take care of grass around your garden. So different watering options. This is a hard one in the summertime. We've just still been hand watering with a hose because it just it takes money to set up irrigation systems. And ideally, eventually we would have some kind of rainwater system, but we're still using hoses and hand watering. Some might be small enough that you could use a watering can, but hose, sprinkler, you could do drip irrigation. Automated irrigation is the dream. Set a timer, saves water. You just set it and forget it. We're not there yet. So those are depending on your resources, how big your garden is. Those are different ways that you could water to make your life easier in the summertime.
Meg, you have a question. Excuse my voice, everyone. Sarah asked, could you talk about how you safely store those items?
That is a great question. So some of our locations have a shed, and the ones that don't, we just leave it out and then just trust the area. And we never really have a problem at our schools. The hoses are usually just wrapped up on a hook there. And tools, I guess we're lucky to have sheds at a lot of our spots. And there's not really, and actually at most of the schools, you don't really, at where we are, we're not really asking parents to do much like labor. It's mostly watering because sometimes people get carried away, especially weeding and maintenance like that. But yeah, I mean, I've also seen some places get like a plastic bin that you could lock.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I was thinking like one of those big lock boxes.
Yeah,
And I think sometimes if you ask for donations from hardware stores or, and thank people, you might be able to get something like that donated as well, possibly.
you're totally right. Because our local Ace Hardware does that for us sometimes in the spring. They'll donate like a hose caddy or something that we might need for our garden. So that might be a good way of solving that problem too. How to hand water seems it seems obvious to us because we probably all have gardens, everyone that's in this. But when I've done workshops before, you'd be surprised at how many people actually have no idea how to water and even think like that the leaves have to be watered. It's and not the soil. So it's just like really important to give more detail than you think is necessary because you could have anyone coming to water that just comes and does a quick spray in the middle of a hot day and thinks that it's good for the week. So like for what I do, this was just a little example here of giving like very specific instructions for this one school of how to turn the water even on from the spigot. And this one didn't need a key. And water a couple times during the week. And so it's just like really specific on how to water, which is important. And then I email this out to whoever signs up for the week. I email them a reminder with all the instructions, and I usually have like a laminated copy at the garden too in case.
That's a great idea.
And these are just like the obvious things of watering either in the morning or at night, focus on the soil, and then just like checking the soil by sticking your finger in and seeing how deep it actually got last summer. We know how hard it was to keep up with watering. No rain at all. It was super hot and dry. So it was tough to have to be watering. It took a really long time. Uh, and that's all I got. So I am happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Great. Thank you so much, Meg. Yeah, if anyone has questions, we got some time, or you can share any issues that are up for you, things you're thinking about for the summer. We have Meg here who, wow, with 2,000 students and how many garden beds? 70? So
Yeah, just 65.
yeah, you have your hands full. So
Yeah.
please feel free to ask any questions, or if Meg didn't touch on something that you came to this webinar curious about, please drop it in the chat, or I can also pull you into the webinar as well. You have a question in the chat. Do you have a basic instruction doc that people could use as a starting point?
On our website, on backyardgrowers.org, we have a great manual for getting started with gardening. It's not school specific, it's gardening specific, but for schools, we have a whole school consulting program that we have for different ages that I'd be happy to share too.
I just put that website in the chat. I'm curious if this question is about gardening in general or summer organizing in general. So I put Backyard Growers in the chat, and there's a lot of information on that website.
And yeah, as far as anything that I've ever put together about summer maintenance, this is the first thing I've ever put together about summer maintenance. So you have the best resource right here.
I'm talking and I'm muted. I'm going to put in the chat the Mass Farm to School webinar archive. We have a lot of recordings on different topics that cover all sorts of school garden topics, from maintenance to social emotional learning. They run a gamut. But
They're amazing.
as far as summer maintenance, we've only offered this webinar a couple of times. Because it has come up as an issue for people, and people have said, well, we don't want to start a garden because we don't know how to take care of it. I love the idea, Meg, of growing things that you don't have to harvest in the fall. I think that's really smart. I think that people are excited to plant things, a variety of things but I think the idea that, okay, you actually don't have to harvest these things. And if you do a heavy mulching and you have people watering them, you're not
Yeah.
having to harvest
It,
throughout the summer.
yeah, you're totally right. It's just the easiest way to have a school garden program with the lowest amount of maintaining. And for the most part, I mean, potatoes, carrots, beets, all the root vegetables, the pumpkins, those grow like really pretty easily with not much. They don't need much hand holding. So
Um,
those are good ones to do for over the summer.
so the Sarah wrote that they were asking more for instructions about summer maintenance, kind of like you did with the watering, because people needed more instruction. Are there other things that you feel people need instruction on? And I totally agree with the watering. I mean, I've been gardening for years and I still forget sometimes to water deeply and, to not water leaves and things like that. And are there other things that you think people would need to give instructions about?
Um, I guess it would be school specific of if there's anything like of what you're growing or the area that you have. But really basically, if you can just get people to come and water in the summer, that's the number one. And then weeds, you could deal with those or not, but it's just really keeping everything alive for the summer.
I wonder if you could have like a fun weeding party where you teach people how to weed kind of thing as
Great
well,
idea.
throughout the summer, because the watering, you need constant watering, but the weeding you could do every few weeks. You could invite people to come weed and maybe do a lesson and bring some refreshments and teach,
Um,
what am
I might take that idea. That's a great idea.
I'm gonna
Because yeah, sometimes I don't encourage much maintenance from the weekly family waterers because yeah, sometimes people think they're doing a great job weeding and they pulled out all the baby beets or like weeding. So
right.
having a little lesson on it and doing it all together, yeah, is a great idea. More hands get the work done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a good idea. I also think that making it fun, like I'm in a watering group in my town. We're called the Deadhead Society. And I kind of joined because I was thought this is really cool. It's like a little group. There's like, 10 waterers. And I was happy to give one day where I water. Luckily it rained. It seems to always rain on that day.
Yeah.
But I haven't really had to do much. But making it fun, having a group name, like an identity, and then maybe a celebration for those people at the end of the summer.
Hmm.
Or they get, like, if you had money, like people get a special t-shirt or some swag, like to identify, or they get a sign at the garden, like a thanks
Yeah.
to the weekly waterers, thanks, and here they are, they sign their name or something, I think there's a lot of ways to make it fun. Um,
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yep, trying to people love to become part of a group like that and make it special. I think that's a great idea to get volunteers too.
so are there any other questions that people came and were hoping would be answered?
And of course, if you think of anything later, email me, megT@backyardgrowers.org, and I'll be happy to get back to you about it.
All right, great. Well, Meg, thank you so much for lending us your information and your time. And I'll send this out to all the registrants and participants. And thanks for people for coming out on this beautiful late
Yeah,
afternoon day.
thank you.
And let's just water and keep everything alive this summer.
There you go. All right, thank you.